I have been able to scale my real estate team from zero to $700 million in less than 5.5 years, mostly because I am able to run my business through systems and not by gut feelings. So in this, I have managed my sales team of over 62 agents without a sales manager. I have recruited on average 1 to 2 agents every single week for the last 2 years without a recruiter. I make 5 to 6 pieces of long form content every single week and 40 plus short form pieces of content. And I host a sales meeting and 2 weekly trainings every single week. And in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through how I have built my business around systems so that it runs more consistently, more efficiently, and most importantly, more profitably. And if you're new to this, my name is Christian Stubbs. I'm a team leader and owner of Onyx Homes. This podcast is specifically for team leaders and broker owners that are looking to grow their business and ideally do it with more profit. And this is me sharing my closest possible way to get into this is to get on my email list. I send an email every single week, both to team leaders, broker owners, and our consumer list. So in the description down below, you can get on our email list and join our free community as well too, and that's the best possible way to get inside. Anyway, let's dive into the content. So running a business off of systems has tons of benefits. And here are 5 of my favorites, just to name a few. Number 1, my business can run without me for an extended period of time. If I'm out of town for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, which I've never done, but my business runs no problems without me. Almost probably for a month I could step out, and I've never intentionally done that. Number 2 is the most important information that I need to run my business comes to me. I very rarely have to go looking for data in order to make important decisions. Number 3 is I'm able to focus my time on what I'm good at, and same thing for my employees. Our employees are able to focus on what they're best at because of the systems we have in place. Number 4, business runs more efficiently, so we can run it on less payroll, hence no recruiter, no sales manager. We out recruit and out sales manage most teams that are half our size that have both a recruiter and a sales manager because of the systems. Last but not least, all of this leads to more consistency and a more profitable business, which is what we're looking for. So that's a yay. Now, first, let's talk about what are systems. What exactly do I mean when I say systems? Most systems are rather simple. And think of it this way. Anytime you do something that needs to be repeated more than once or twice, honestly, more than 2 or 3 times on any sort of a regular cadence, there needs to be a system implemented on it. Very simply. You have probably heard the term SOP. I, for a long time, felt like SOPs were total nonsense. However, I managed my entire business off of Loom videos. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. What is an SOP and what is a Loom video? An SOP is simply a system or process that is written out on a piece of paper step by step so that somebody can follow it. So when I say I thought SOPs were nonsense, what I did not realize was what I was generally doing was I was filming a Loom video. So Loom is like screen sharing type video, very simple, very easy. I was filming a Loom video, explaining what I wanted done step by step and showing how to do it. And then I would assign that task or that system to an employee. And I would ask, hey, do you have any questions? And if they didn't have any questions, that's how it would work. I would say, hey, here's the task. Here's how to do it. Here's the cadence on how to do it. And I want this done every Friday. Let me know if you have any questions. And that was putting a system in place. And the only thing that didn't happen was putting it on paper necessarily. So that was an SOP, and this was very early on in the business. So this is one thing I want to make clear. You have systems in your business. I guarantee it. Anytime you say this is just how we do things, that's a system. There's just no organization, and there's no structure around that system, right? It's just how you do things. So having systems is different. Having efficient systems is different than just having this is how we do things. So you want efficient systems to help your business run more consistently and more profitably, I assume at least. And if you are, that's what this video is all about, or this episode. So here is how I put systems in place. This is a 4-step process. Very simple, very easy. Number 1, I identify something that needs to be repeated. So if I find something that needs to be done on any consistent basis. Think annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, stuff like that. That's something that it needs a system around it. Number 2 is document step by step with the 4 Ds of delegation. So the 4 Ds, this is a good thing to write down for notes, is do, document, delete, and delegate. This is from acquisition.com. And this is how basically they make systems and SOPs. So means you do it, right? So ideally you have somebody watching you over your shoulder or screen recording of you actually doing the thing. Document means either you document or somebody else documents every single thing that you do. And I would get down to like the minute, go to this board and here is go to this link, this sheet or whatever, and click here to get it, right? Make it as simple as possible. Make it as detailed as possible. So do, document. Third is delete. Delete the things that are redundant. So if you can skip a portion of the system and the outcome is the same, and you get everything done you needed to, well, then that's great. You can delete that portion of it. And then the last thing is delegate. So once you've done it, you've documented it, you've deleted the redundancies, the nonsense, then you can delegate that out and done correctly. What you want to do here is you want to give whatever the regular cadence is. So like I said before, when I make my Loom videos, I say, hey, here's the reason we're doing this. So I share with them what the goal is. And I say, here's how to do it. And then I say, this is how often I want it done. And then here's something I have done more recently is assign the cadence and then add this new system or task to a list. So every single employee that we have has a list of their systems and the SOP or the Loom video of how to do it, and then the cadence. Now, the reason that I have this on here is I have done this. I have assigned a system 4 years ago that is still happening, and it was no longer relevant 2 years ago. So by running a list of all of the different systems that a particular employee is doing on a regular cadence, you can monitor that so they're not wasting time. I also like to say at the end of assigning a system to somebody, I like to say, hey, can you reach back out to me in 90 days and so that I can confirm that like we still need to do this. I don't say it that way, but that's what I'm trying to accomplish. I say, hey, can you remind me 90 days from now to review this system? And what that does is it requires me to go look at it to say like, oh, do we actually need this? Or did I just create this system for the sake of doing it? And in the beginning, maybe you don't do that, but I got in the habit of assigning too many different things out and then not realizing that there was so many things being done that just didn't need to be done over and over. Anyway, so that's how to do it. So number 1, identify something that needs to be done on a repeat, like constantly. Number 2 is document a step-by-step process through the document, delete, delegate, and then assign the regular cadence. Does it need to be done daily, weekly, whatever, and then have a list of all the systems. Pro tip on here, I ask that whoever I'm assigning it to, I ask them, hey, get back to me on some cadence, usually 90 days, of so that I can audit it. And that just lets me know, hey, do I still need to have this person do this? So for example, let me give you a very clear example of what I mean by documenting or by doing these systems. So one of the cornerstone systems that we run our entire business off of are our weekly follow-up reports. So the goal was to pause agents that were behind on follow-up, right? In our business, if you're too busy for follow-up, you're too busy for new leads. So I had to create a system to pause the agents that were behind on follow-up. So back in 2020, I was manually going through every single agent on the team. I was going through all of their 10 follow-up lists, which is a whole different system. And I was seeing who was behind on follow-up. And I was making a judgment call every single week on was this person behind or not. So what I ended up doing was I created the system. So I made the step-by-step process of how my virtual assistant can go in for every single agent and they can fill out a report. This usually took me 15 minutes every single time that I did it. And I made the system so my virtual assistant would go in, they'd pull all the data, they'd put a report together that shows me what every single agent did that week and how up to date they were on their follow-up. They'd send me a spreadsheet or a list, and I get this email every single week for every single agent. It took me 15 minutes to put the report together, and I now look at this for about 2 seconds. So before, it was taking me 15 minutes. Now it takes me 2 seconds to review and 1 minute to respond. So if I had 62 agents, which we do now, and this is a big portion of how we manage them from a sales perspective, 62 agents, this would take me 15 and a half hours per week. It takes my virtual assistant probably 15 and a half hours per week. It's almost half of his job to do this one report. It's that important. Or most likely, if I hadn't delegated this out, I just wouldn't have happened. It would have stopped happening, which would have been really bad for the company. So now my VA does this every single week like clockwork. And to be honest, our entire team knows this report comes out every single Friday. And they know that if they're behind on their follow-up on Friday, they get paused. So what ends up happening? Well, most of our agents do all their follow-up on Thursday so that they're not paused for the weekend, which is all by design. And this system alone, cannot emphasize this enough, has made God knows how much money, both for our agents, because it's this built-in accountability that we have with our team, and tons of money for the team. I gave this task to my virtual assistant in 2020, and it has happened every single week like clockwork. I don't have to put any effort into it. I can sales manage by responding to everybody's email for 1 minute each, so 62 minutes instead of 15 hours. And I have a very clear pulse on what's going on every single week in the business. Now, to go a little bit deeper here, our process is they get a weekly report, they also get a monthly, they also get a quarterly, they also get an annual. So they know they can business plan based on this reporting, and it gives me a much better idea of what's going on. Now, we also do this for all kinds of other things. For example, another system that we use is how we run our entire admin side of the business on EOS, or if you're not familiar, Entrepreneur Operating System. One of the books behind your back here is Traction. Fantastic book, but there's 3 major things that we do, and there's 100 systems underneath there also. So we run our level 10 meeting every single week, and we have a system to make sure that everything gets done. We do quarterly business planning. We follow the system every single time. We just did this last week. We have a scorecard as well too, where we are tracking every important part of the business. So me, for example, as the owner CEO, I have my assistant go in and plug in all the numbers so that I'm not doing 2 hours of data entry. Our virtual assistants, for most of the information, put that in there so that we, as more of the executive committee, if you will, are making decisions rather than data entry. And I can go on and on and on about different systems in the business, but every different aspect of the business should have a system around it. For example, one of the hardest things for a lot of larger teams is managing like Zillow Flex, for example. We have systems around this. We have systems around if an agent is behind on their follow-up, they get paused on leads. If an agent is behind on their conversion metrics, they get either ramped down or ramped up on leads if they're doing well. So by creating systems and running your business off of systems like this, you're going to be going less off of your gut feeling and more off of just how you actually do business, but having it organized, systematized. I think if you aren't already implementing this into your business, I would do this immediately today. I think you're going to be able to cut down on a lot of nonsense off of your plate so that you can go and add more revenue to the business. I know this is an easy, short, simple episode, but I can give you 1,000 different examples. But the reality is, if you find something that you are doing or if an employee is doing over and over and over, you have to implement a system to it to make it more efficient and to make your business more profitable. And like I said, if you want the closest possible look at my business, I would hop on my email list and join our free community. Links are in the description down below. If you enjoy this stuff, like, subscribe, do all the things, share it with a friend. And this is another episode down in me building my company, Onyx Homes. And I will see you on the next one.